Man, today is everything is going to shit, isn't it? Now I realized, I just noticed the stream was crapping out, so I just put a break into the thing I was recording. I hope we're back. I don't know what's going on today. It's just, da ist der Wurm drin, as we say in Germany. There's the worm in it. So I put a marker there, so I know where to, I can do these things by now. Ich bin leid gewöhnt is another thing we say in Germany. I'm used to pain. So let's jump in at that point. Yeah, so I would be completely okay with that. If it's just mass or not, yes. But the problem here is, it's not a question about mass. It's like, it is pervasive through our whole society. There's all these different things, all these different questions where people are like, oh, this is the new normal. This is the post-corona era. We need to reevaluate everything. And that's the problem, right? When they go, hey, cash is evil. We need a cashless society. No, this virus is not spread via cash. That's the WHO, and everybody said that in like March. But they're still going on. Oh, pay cashless if you can. Sorry? I mean, if I'm at supermarket and I'm giving you my cash, then maybe okay, I'm endangering the thing if it would actually spread. But now I'm using the everybody's using a fucking keypad, right? And then it makes no sense. Oh no, don't use the keypad, just touch your card. It has nothing to do with preventing the spread of coronavirus. They just want you to pay cashless because they can track every fucking move you do. And I'll get into that. I'll talk about some higher concepts later, and I will say these things. I will say things like they. And when I say that, what I mean is I'm not saying there's a conspiracy. I'm not saying it's somebody doing this. Later we'll talk about the World Economic Forum. I'm not saying the WEF wants that or some cabal of world government. No. When I say they, I mean forces in society, and it's they're all doing it independently. They all have their own agenda. It's nobody controlling it. But if you're talking about, let's go to what I in an earlier episode called the war on cash. If we have the war on cash, let's go to a cashless society. There's lots of people who want that. Banks want that. Payment providers want that. Google wants that. All kinds of companies that collate this data, advertising agencies want that because they get the data from that and then they can sell you things. The guy who runs the supermarket wants that because he can analyze all this kind of shit better than if you're paying cash. Because they can track you. They know, oh, we've seen this credit card before and this guy always buys that. So on Monday, there's always a guy who comes in here and buys a 6-pack of beer. And that's important information. I get that. So it's not a conspiracy. I'm just saying, this is just general people. And that's the problem, that there's this situation we have is being used by lots of forces in society, in politics and in business, to change things. And they will say, it is imperative that we do this, and they never explain. And this brings me to the next, my next topic. This is kind of like my soapbox for this episode, where I wrap everything, where this is the point it all comes down to. So there's a term that you might have heard because this is a bit older. I realize I've been moving and all this kind of stuff. So I'm recapping some stuff that happened a few weeks ago. So, but I think this is really important. I think we need to talk about this, even if it's a bit older. You might have heard the term the Great Reset. The Great Reset is something the World Economic Forum, the WEF, came up with. These are the Davos people. And they are saying Corona has changed everything. It was this biggest thing that ever happened, and it changed everything. And now we need to change. We need to change our society, our political system. We need to change all these systems. And I have a great clip here that, once again, I am thankful to the great No Agenda podcast, John C. Dvorak and Adam Curry. And while I don't agree with them on a lot of things, especially on scientific topics, I mostly disagree with them. I disagree with them with lots about coronavirus and stuff, and also about a lot of conspiracy theories. But they have good clips, and they're one of the podcasts I modeled this show after, because one of their things they do, and I really like and want to do with the show as well, is provide you, the producer, the listener, with all the material I use to do the show. Right? I give you the show notes. There's everything in there. There's all the sources I use. There's links to all the clips I play. So they're doing the same thing. My stuff you can find on privatecitizen.press. Man, it's been a long day today. So I provide all this the resources, and they do that too, because that's their philosophy. They want you to think for yourself, and I want that too. So in this case, they provided this clip in an earlier podcast they did, which is just as well, because the WEF pulled it from their website. I know that it's from the WEF because they have other sound bites from this event from the same people, but they pulled this, and I think they pulled it because it's very telling. And so this is from a conference call when they launched The Great Reset, like their book and their agenda, their project. They launched that, and the guy you will hear talking in a bit is Professor Klaus Schwab, who is a German. He founded the World Economic Forum, and he is the chairman. And he sounds like an evil Bond villain, or maybe a Nazi from Hogan's Heroes. And that makes this clip even more better, because, let's just listen to the guy. You'll get what I mean.
Thank you, Adrian. It is obvious.
Isn't that like just, thank you, Adrian? It's just like a Bond villain.
That we are in the midst of the most severe crisis the world has experienced since World War II.
Okay, let's stop there. That's something that a lot of people say. It's something that Angela Merkel said early on, which I disagree with. I don't think this is the biggest crisis since World War II, because a lot of shit has happened since World War II. But let's go with that, right? Let's just give him that for a moment. Let's take that as our premise.
75 years ago, countries and people came together to shape the post-war global order.
We came together to shape the post-war global order, jawohl!
Which brought us decades of peace, increased global cooperation and prosperity to hundreds of millions of people around the world.
It
The
was great.
COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century.
Why? Why are our old systems not fit anymore for the 21st? Why has the COVID crisis shown us that? I don't agree with that at all. This is their modus operandi. These people that want to push this change, they always say, well, COVID changed everything, so now we have to do that. And they don't provide any arguments. They don't provide any arguments why COVID has changed anything. They're just that's just a given. And it's also a given that we need to change anything. Like if you ask me, the thing that the COVID-19 crisis has shown us is that our health systems are not up to scratch. And that maybe saving all that money in the last 10, 20 years, I can't talk really about your country, wherever you are. I know that's what has happened in Germany. It certainly has happened in the UK while I was living there. We were destroying the NHS, in the UK they were destroying the NHS. In Germany, the Conservative Party, Angela Merkel's party, was systematically destroying our health system. The guy who's shepherding Germany, our health minister, I always say this, I will not let it go, who's shepherding us through this crisis, in February said that we need to be more proactive with closing hospitals and, you know, paying people less and having less nurses and all this kind of shit. Right, that's the problem. We saw that's what COVID-19 showed us. Our health systems weren't up to scratch. The saving money with the health system was a bad mistake. We saw that in Italy. We saw a colossal fail of their health system. We saw it in New York. We saw huge problems there. And that's what it's shown us. It hasn't shown us that we just need to nuke everything and destroy the whole post-war order and we need a new post-corona order. No, we just need to fucking sort out our health systems. Anyway, but let's listen to what that guy thinks we need to be doing.
Thank you, Adrian.
Sorry.
It has laid not fit anymore for the 21st century.
Right.
It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. Now,
why? Like, what does this have to do? I mean, yeah, cohesion, social cohesion, yes, maybe, but that's, you know, what's damaged that is our dealing with the crisis, you know, mandating masks and, you know, the whole political divide. Yes, I agree with that, but it's not the virus, that's our reaction to the virus. But what does this have to do with equality? Like, why do we have an equality issue? How has the virus laid bare an equality issue? Are there more women dying of coronavirus in Germany than men? If anything, from what I know, it's harder on the male metabolism, but what is he talking about?
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
Yes, we must shape the system. Now is the historical time. Doesn't tell us why, but, you know, now people are prepared. We can change everything.
For the need for the post-corona era. We have a choice to remain passive, which would lead to the amplification of many of the trends we see today. Polarization, nationalism, racism, and ultimately increased social unrest and conflicts.
What does coronavirus have to do with racism or nationalism? I don't get it. Is there an issue where, like, German hospitals said, oh, we don't have any ICU beds anymore, we can't, you're black, or, you know, you're this ethnic group, you know, you're Jewish, you're Catholic, we can't, you're Muslim, we're not treating you? Like, what's this guy? What is this bullshit? He's talking bullshit.
But we have another choice. We can build a new social contract.
Aha.
Particularly integrating the next generation. We can change our behavior to be in harmony with nature again.
Here, this is what he's got. Of course, climate change, right? Because that has everything to do with corona. We need to be in harmony with the nature again. What's he say? What is he saying? She's saying, oh, if we are in harmony with the nature again, then we will not be attacked by any viruses anymore, because the virus is the reaction of the planet. We are heating up the planet, and then the viruses, they're the immune system of the planet, and they're killing us because we are killing the planet. Is that what he's saying? That's really scientific. What is this bullshit?
And we can make sure that the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution are best utilized to provide us with better lives.
Here, this is where we're going, right? The technologies of the fourth industrial revolution are better utilized to provide us with better lives. Track everybody. You know, no cash. Track everybody, and then we can do it like China, right? If we have an outbreak, we can just lock them all down. They're all tracked. We know where they are. You know, we can lock down that quarter of the city, and then everybody will be safe. It will be great. It will be great. It will be just like in the 30s in Germany when we were in harmony with nature.
In short, we need a great reset. We have to mobilize all constituents of our global society to work together. We must not miss this unique window of opportunity.
This unique window of opportunity to change the global order. You know, when I hear that guy talking, you know what I think? No, we don't need that. What we need is we need to aim to misbehave.
This report is maybe 12 years old. Parliament buried it. It stayed buried until River dug it up. This is what they feared she knew. And they were right to fear. Because there's a whole universe of folk who are going to know it too. They're going to see it. Somebody has to speak for these people. Y'all got on this boat for different reasons, but y'all come to the same place. So now I'm asking more of you than I have before. Maybe all. As sure as I know anything, I know this. They will try again. Maybe on another world, maybe on this very ground swept clean. A year from now, 10, they'll swing back to the belief that they can make people better. And I do not hold to that. So no more running. I aim to misbehave.
I do. I aim to misbehave because we need to stop this bullshit. Because this is where it's going. I mean, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm not saying the WEF is like orchestrating all of this. I'm saying lots of people in society right now are getting this idea. They're all independently, they're understanding this. Good politicians are understanding this now. They're understanding that we've people, for what reason whatsoever. I would say, you know, we're in panic for this virus. Other people would say, you know, we're just reacting appropriately to the virus, whatever. We have a reaction. Not the virus isn't something that was never there before. We always had pandemics. We had different pandemics. We had people dying. This is nothing new. Our reaction to this virus is new. And people are realizing that, and they're realizing they can use that reaction to change things. And, you know, if lots of people haven't realized it by now, the World Economic Forum has now published a book called The Great Reset. And they wrote it down in that book, you know, for their purposes. But other people will realize that, and they will start using that. So we need to be aware of this. Because you might be wondering, why is he talking about this? This is like, it's some esoteric bullshit. No, it's not. This is what we've been seeing. This is what I've been watching throughout this show, just in a more organic, unorganized situation since I started reporting on this coronavirus thing. You know, you can listen to those shows, the old episodes, and you will realize I'm going through all these things that are happening that I knew, where you have, you know, Germans who 10 years ago were going berserk when Google took a picture of their house from the other side of the road, their house, not even them, their house. And they were like, now people know where I live, blah, 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 blah. The same people do not bat an eye when they now go to a restaurant, they have to put their address down. And the government requires that. And don't even bat an eye. So that change, these changes, that's the social, that's what's happening in society right now. And what we're seeing now with people like, you know, this guy, you know, Hogan, with people like that guy, they're realizing they can use that. They can use this social dynamic that is happening right now. And they can push it in all different directions. And they would, you know, this goes through all of society. It's not only, I mean, I'm concentrating here on privacy things. So I'm concentrating like, you know, like the war on cash and tracking of people and the government mandating apps or the government saying this or that, you know. But it goes through all levels of society. And if you're interested in different fields, you might want to start looking out for how the Great Reset. I'm just going to call this the Great Privacy Reset from now on. But you know, it's on different levels of society as well. But if you're talking privacy, you will be seeing all kinds of politicians, people in in industry, you know, people in tech. They're using this. They're just saying, basically the argument goes like this. This is the worst thing that ever happened. Not explain why. This means we must overthrow everything. Not explain why. And now let's do X. Right? And lots of people are going with that. They're just buying that wholesale, and that's dangerous. We need to be really careful of that. You know, and you're seeing it everywhere, and it's just. I mean, if you just stop and think, and you're like, why? Why do we need to change everything? No, we don't need to change everything. Maybe we need to I might even go as far as concede, yes, we all need to wear masks till the end of times now, maybe. But then I would say, really don't. We just need to reform our health systems a bit. And go back to the way they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Maybe. Just spend more money on that. Problem solved. But you know that's not where it's gonna stop. It's all these, and you see it. You see all these corona measures. You know they make no sense. They're different everywhere, but they make no sense, right? You wear a mask in that situation, but you don't do that, and then you don't pay with cash here, and it doesn't. It just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I don't want to go on much further about this. I just wanted to bring this up and to explain to you that this is what's going on, and I'll be keeping an eye on that. I keep an eye on this great privacy reset situation, and I'll bring it up. I'll bring up things as I see them, and I hope you will too. I hope you'll provide feedback on what I've just laid down here, and you know, maybe you'll agree, maybe you don't agree, maybe you have some examples, maybe you see something happening. Please write in privatecitizen.press, contact details under feedback, and also a link in the footer. There's ways to contact me anonymously, which I think only makes sense when we're talking a privacy podcast. But please get in touch. I do value a healthy dialogue with people that listen to the show. And speaking of dialogue of people who listen to the show, let's do that. Let's go into the producer feedback. At first, so we have some boots on the ground reports. We have our anonymous Canadian who's written to us before, and they provide some new information from Canada. So quoting them here, I've been on days off and have not had a chance to listen to your newest podcast yet. I, however, stumbled across this link that I thought would interest you. And it's a story called Quebec Gives Police Legal Tools to Enter Homes Quickly to Stop Gatherings During COVID-19. CBC is the Canadian government-sponsored news outlet. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars a year to keep it going. Think of it as the Canadian equivalent of the old Ministry of Propaganda. I do think that's a bit harsh. I mean, yes, government-sponsored broadcasting has its downsides. It also has its upsides, but you know, I get the criticism. Anyway, some excerpts from that story on CBC. Quoting here, Quebec Premier François Legault says police in the province's red zones, regions where COVID-19 cases are surging. Citizen, you're in a red zone. Beware. Red zone. It's like from Resident Evil. Regions where COVID-19 cases are surging will be issuing $1,000 fines to those who violate newly strengthened public health rules. With fees, those fines will top $1,500 and can be issued for gathering in private residences or protesting without a face covering. Quebec reported 838 new cases of COVID-19, but no deaths Wednesday. So they're prohibiting you to gather in private residence because of 838 new cases a day, no deaths. Okay. Since the start of the pandemic, there have been 74,288 confirmed cases and 5,834 people have died in the province, which is interesting. That's more than have died in Germany with a lot less cases. Maybe it's this could be another focus of the health system. I mean, I feel like, I personally, just a quick aside here, I feel like it has to be the health system. Because it's the same virus everywhere, right? It's not like it's gonna kill more unless what was it? Klaus is right, and it's really a racist virus, and the virus says we need to kill the Canadians, but the Germans we don't kill, right? So I feel like it must be a factor of the health system. But anyway, we don't know. Continuing here from the story, beyond the few exceptions, such as for caregivers or romantic relations, oh la la, house guests are not allowed, Legault says. Police are authorized to demand proof of residency, and if residents refuse entry, officers will be able to obtain warrants faster through a new virtual system that was established in collaboration with the Crown, the Premier said. Quote, "We had to give the police the means to intervene," said Public Security Minister Geneviève Guilbeault. I love this. These people are all the same. We had to give police the right. Like, why? Why? And who are these fucking journalists and the CBC? You know, criticism here, I think, is well deserved. Like, if the public security minister says that, the first thing you ask as a journalist is why? Why? And if they can't answer that, then you put that in the fucking story. We had to give police the means to intervene, said Public Security Minister Geneviève Guilbeault. Normally, the process for obtaining a warrant can take a day or two, but that won't work when police want to break up parties that very same evening, Legault says. Well, then it does. Like, there's a reason it takes 1 or 2 days for a warrant, right? Presumably, it's like here, a judge has to look over it, and there's process, right? And now they're just doing away with the process, it sounds to me. Might as well. Why even have warrants? Why not just arrest people? Just go into houses, bust. You know. Why not wear brown shirts and knee-high boots, leather boots while you're at it, and like leather trench coats? Legault said all gatherings will be banned. All gatherings will be banned, even outside in public parks. An activity that has grown more popular in places like Montreal during the pandemic. Legault said people from red zones cannot travel to orange zones to eat in a restaurant or gather in a home. They will face fines if they do. He said restaurants will not be required to verify residency, but police can issue a ticket if they catch people violating the rules. Legault made no mention of roadblocks, somehow that occurred last spring. However, Guilbeault said signs will something that occurred last spring. However, they're really Nazi roadblocks. Jesus Christ. However, Guilbeault said signs will be posted warning people they are entering or leaving a red zone. Be aware, citizen. You're entering a red zone. I repeat, you're entering a red zone. Man. Christ. Jackbooted bastards. Anyway, our producer continues their feedback. The province of Ontario, on the other hand, seems to have lost all thought process. Ontario is bringing back rules reminiscent of lockdown. However, they are not in alignment with what the federal government is doing. This is very well reviewed in this opinion piece. And there's a link if you're interested in the show notes. Private Citizen Press. And British Columbia is no better. Look at the surging number of cases. However, they fail to point out that when you compare the percentage of positive tests to total tests, the percentage was much higher earlier this year versus now. Back when they were doing 10,000 tests a day versus the 50,000 tests per day now, which is what you would expect, just statistics. Do more tests is probably less. You probably catch less positives as a percentage. I don't see this politically fueled mess going away anytime soon. No, I don't either. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to listening to this newest episode on my travels tomorrow. Well, yeah, there you go. And probably this episode as well. Also, I had some feedback from Yevgeny Kuznetsov, who's written in the past as a listener and producer from Moscow in Russia. And he replies to some discussion I had on an early episode where I talked about vaccination and basically forcing people to vaccinate their kids when they want to go to school. And Yevgeny says, well, I don't really know about Germany, but in Russia and Ukraine, yeah, I know not the exemplary states freedom-wise, non-vaccinated children are prohibited from going to state-funded schools, etc., which is essentially enforcement and perhaps violating the constitutional right for education, at least in Russia, but our government doesn't seem to care. I do agree with your general sentiment, but these are very slippery matters we're talking about here. Should my constitutional right to live and preserve health be trumped by a virus disseminating persons' right for freedom of movement, seeing as they rode the same subway train I did? And he continues, but let's just address that. I think you had hit the nail on the head there. That is always the question, right? This is what constitutional scholars debate in Germany about this kind of stuff as well, pretty much in every country. This is how you have a constitution, or you have other laws, and then you need to interpret those. And I feel like that's the question. The question is always, yes, generally, at least here in Germany, it's held that if you're endangering somebody else in public, then your freedom can be curtailed. But the question is, like, what is that endangering? Like, the question is how dangerous is COVID, right? How likely is somebody to catch it if I wear a mask or not, for example, or if I'm vaccinated or not? That is something that needs to be looked at. And I feel like traditionally we looked at that very differently. So there are specific laws. I've talked about the Infektionsschutzgesetz very early on in the show, and how it works, and that it was written for contagious diseases, specifically things like Ebola and Yersinia pestis, and there it was generally accepted, yes, if you have that disease, the state can basically lock you up if you're not quarantined. Well, basically, they will lock you up to protect other people, which, comes from historical precedents, things like the outbreak of the Marburg virus in Marburg, and it's completely understandable. Now, we're using the same level of can restrict people's freedoms for another kind of disease, for one that is less deadly. I mean, we can have a discussion how deadly COVID is, and if it's as deadly as the flu or more. It's certainly a lot less deadly than Ebola or Yersinia pestis. So there are no two ways forward. Either we say, looking at previous precedents, we cannot use the same laws and the same standards for restricting people's privacy, freedom, personal freedom, private, whatever, restricting people's freedoms than for these diseases, because it's not on the same level as endangering the public. And, we previously ruled with other infectious diseases that were relatively comparable to COVID, that we wouldn't restrict people's freedoms. Or the other way to go, which would also work, is saying, okay, we're changing our standards. We are now treating COVID like this, and we realize as a society we accept that if somebody endangers the public safety to this level, then we can restrict their privacy. But then I feel like their personal freedoms. But then I feel like we need to apply the same standards to other. Then the jump from COVID to the flu isn't that far, right? And then we maybe we will need to apply that standard to other diseases as well, which will lead to a lot more restricting of people's privacies. And that's a discussion that needs to be had. I certainly think we should dial back the restricting people's freedoms when we have 17 deaths a day that are way outclassed by medical malpractice and other diseases, right? I mean, we could compare this to cardiovascular disease. and people's freedom to eat steaks or drink beer or eat a lot, because then they get fat and then they get cardio. Okay, they're just endangering themselves. Probably a bad example. But, there's other diseases and other stuff. So, I don't know. But Yevgeny continues. Because the argument is basically very similar. We are essentially forcing people to be vaccinated, taking away their freedom to choose which molecules to put or not to put into their bodies. And we do that for the good of the community. And that's okay. Now we're forcing people to stay at home, taking away their freedom to go where they please, and we do that for the good of the community, and somehow that's not okay. I'm a little confused. Where, in your opinion, the limit for the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one argument should be? Now, I think you misunderstood me there, Yevgeny, because I don't feel both of these are not okay. I don't feel the restricting people's freedoms personally, I don't think is okay, and I think the forcing vaccinations on people is not okay, because I'm of the firm opinion that it's actually against the German constitution. There is a very firm clause in there that means that ensures your bodily that you have the right to decide, what to do with your body. Like, doctors can't give you an injection if you don't agree to it. And there is very, very good historical reasons for that. I mean, to spell it out, the Nazis did experiments on people against their will. And yes, the Nazis did that on a they did that with certain ethnic groups and with disabled people and certain religions and stuff like that. But it's not made better when you do it to everybody. There's a reason we have laws against this. We have that in our Grundgesetz. There's very, very, very good reasons, and I feel like we shouldn't back down a millimeter from that. And I also feel like, I talked about this in the context of schools, right? When, let's say I have a kid, and let's say the German government realized that they can't force me to vaccinate my child, because child is a bad example in this case, because they can actually do that because the child itself is not, until you're of age, you can't decide. It's a bad example. It's just a loophole in the constitution that way. But what I'm trying to say is so if they can't make it so you have to vaccinate your child, and they do basically the workaround where they're like, okay, then we just make a law that your child can't go to school, like it won't be accepted in schools if it's not vaccinated. That is basically forcing vaccination. It's the same thing. It might not legally be the same thing, but spirit of the law, letter of the law. This is the thing we talked about apps. Why there should be a law that these contact tracing apps should be completely voluntary. Because you can have this situation, where basically the government says it's voluntary, but then your supermarket doesn't let you in if you don't have the app installed, but you need to buy food, so you have to install the app, so it's not voluntary anymore. And this is kind of the same situation. And so I object to both of these. I object to the vaccination part, and I don't think neither of that is okay. And I generally, just to refer back to what Yevgeny was saying, I think I've talked about this before. I object to the need of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one argument, this Spock argument, which is, I think I linked an essay about this once in the show notes. This is very un-Vulcan. This is a very unlogical premise. It on the surface it seems logical, and on the level they discuss this philosophically on Star Trek. It seems logical, but if you think about it, it really is not, because the whole the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few can be used for very, very sinister purposes, and has been in history. I mean, it's a no-brainer. We talked about the Nazis. I'm going to go back to the Nazis. That is how the Nazis justified killing people. They justified killing a certain groups of people by saying it is better. There's weird, twisted idea of eugenics. They said that's better for the majority of the German people. And just the danger of what you can justify with that argument is why I don't like that argument. But thank you for writing in, Yevgeny. See, this is the stuff I want. I think this is great. This kind of dialogue with the people to listen to the show is invaluable. I appreciate it a lot. Also had a short message from Fadi Mansour who says, one point that I wanted to mention, you sometimes apologize or warn of an incoming rant. You have to understand that sometimes the rant is part of the appeal, so please keep up the good work and keep the rants coming. Fadi, I certainly will keep the rants coming. I know they are part of the appeal. People have been telling me this since Linux Outlaws. I know, and it's just in my nature. But my nature is that way. I say what I think. I get mad, and I just know that some people, it's hard to deal. They find it hard to deal with that. That's not how they used to, from consuming other media. And I think it's actually strength of podcasts you can have that integrity, and you can say what you think, and you can shout if you need to shout. And I'm just cushioning this because I know there's new people listening to the show, listening to it for the first time, and I want to keep the culture shock at a minimum. This is actually, while we're at that topic, let me just shortly play. This is another clip from No Agenda that they ended the show with recently, and this goes right to this topic. And I had this in the playlist for at some point to play this because this is exactly why it's a great time to be a podcaster.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a podcaster. That's all I can say. Very, very proud of.
With your own network to distribute yourself without having to go through Podbean or any of these operations going, we don't think your podcast is suitable anymore.
Yeah, that's why I love doing podcasts. It's so true. And, I just want to keep the culture shock when you people do. Don't worry, there will be rants. Rants will be had. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for writing in. I appreciate it a lot. And if you have listened to this and you have disagreed to things I've said, please, or you agreed, or you have examples or something you want to add, please contact me. Contact link is in the show notes, privatecitizen.press, under producer feedback, and also in the bottom footer of the show. As I said, there's also ways to contact me anonymously if you want to become a whistleblower. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I produce this podcast under the value for value model, which means I give it to you. You can do with it whatever you want. You don't have to pay for it. But if it provides you value, then I ask you to think about, how much value that provides you, and think about maybe giving some value back. You can give value back by writing, by providing information, by doing some research, sending me things, giving me ideas for shows, giving me input. But you can also help me monetarily, which is very much appreciated. And to be honest, keeps the show going because I need to, I'm a freelance journalist here. I need to put food on the table. My preferred way is Patreon, which is just great because it's like, a bit of a commitment for you, and it's kind of like a steady trickle for me. You do not have to pay $30 a month. You will get a shirt, but you don't have to do that. There's tiers that start at $1. Whatever you feel is right. If you don't want to commit, you can also send me one-off contribution via PayPal to the email address producers@fab.industries, producers@fab.industries. Every bit helps. It's very much appreciated. And we come to the end of the show. And with that, I would like to thank everybody. I would like to thank, first off, Raul Kabazali, who wrote a great theme tune that I've licensed for the show, and it's become, I feel it's become really recognizable and a really integral part of the show. So I would like to thank Raoul for that. I would also like to thank Bytemark, which is a hosting company from the UK, bytemark.co.uk. They are providing me with the service I use to send the audio files to you pro bono, which is also something that helps me keep the show going, and it's very much appreciated. I love them. They're a great hosting company. I've never had any trouble with their service in years and years and years. It just runs. It's perfect. So thanks, Bytemark, and thanks to everybody who pitched in, and it keeps the show on the air literally by providing me with a little bit of financial incentive. And those people are Niall Donegan, Michael Mullen Jensen, Jonathan M. Heathy, Georges Walther, Dave Butterbeans, Mark Holland, Steve Hose, Shelby Kruver, Vlad Kaisias, Jackie Plage, 1I11G, Philipp Klostermann, Jaroslav Lichtblau, Fadi Mansour, IKN, Matt Jelliman, Joe Poser, Dirk Didi, David Potter, Mika, Dave Umrish, Martin, Vaitautas Sadauskis, Ricky M, Drive Zero, SJ, Jonathan Edwards, Barry Williams, Sylvia Vulcan, Mr. Amish, and Richard Gilson. Thanks to all of you. I appreciate it so much. You're great. Thanks for being there for me, and thanks everybody for listening. That's it. This is your episode for today. Well, that didn't really work. I have to do that again. Oh no, I have to cut it. Fuck. Okay, we'll get this working somehow. Yeah, that's it. That's your episode for today. Thank you. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode. Maybe I'll throw in an extra episode. We'll see how it goes. Thanks for everybody who was watching this live while I was streaming it on Twitch. It was a lot of fun. I love doing these things live. And see you around. Thanks for listening. This was The Private Citizen, defending your right to have something to hide. See you next week. Well, did the show twice. Now this hopefully recorded. Let's test this. Because if it didn't, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry and then I'm gonna give up for today. Where are we at? Let me see. Oh no, I have to cut it. Fuck. Sounds good. Okay, we'll get this working somehow. Well, that sounds like it worked. Reset. Hello, everybody. I'm Fab, your host, coming to you live from. Sounds good. So take two worked. So what I'm gonna do now is I think the wife got home. I'm gonna have a little break here for a few minutes. Get myself something else to drink, and if you wanna stay around just after the break, I'm just gonna show you how I fix whatever mistakes I made in that show. Put it all together, put the chapter markers in the show, and then upload it and release it. So if you want to know how that works, stick around. I'll show you. I'll be back in a few minutes. I need a quick break after recording 2 podcasts in a row. Right, here I am. I'm back. Let's try to get this podcast out before the day's over. Man, that was I was actually kind of taxing doing 2 shows back to back. I do like that the second one was shorter. I think that happens naturally, but I think maybe I condensed it down a bit more. Anyway, I think I've earned some Mittag Gros Bourgeois from 2016. Not the best Mittag I ever had, but it's good. It's decent, and I definitely need something now. Right. Okay. So what do we need to do here now? Let's have a look. Let's auto level that. Let's auto level that. Okay, and then auto level that. Oh, can't see what I'm doing. Let's switch you over to that with you. Nice, okay. So then I think we can just trim this off there. And then we trim this. And then, come on. Select part of this. Go, whoop. Hello, everybody. You're listening to The Private Citizen, your weekly data privacy podcast. This is episode 41 for Wednesday, the 7th of October, 2020. The Great Privacy Reset. Hello, everybody. I'm Fab, your host, coming to you live from Düsseldorf in the heart of North Rhine-Westphalia. From my new studio here, just behind the courthouse, actually. And I'm recording this episode once again and streaming it live on Twitch while I do it, because all the changes we have to accept now and what's coming, and kind of trends I'm seeing that are worrying me together with all these coronavirus stuff and the numbers. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some feedback from you, the producers, as well. Which I always say I encourage. Please go to the show notes are at privatecitizen.press. I'm just checking that's actually the website. I always do that. It is. And now get lost. Now get lost on the internet. No. Yes, please do that. Please go to privatecitizen.press. There's all the show notes are on there. All the. Now we have to make sure that the intro and outro music is basically the same level. First, still filling in the waveform. First. off. And then trim that off. Just working somewhere. Yeah, that's it. That's the episode for today. Thank you. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode. Maybe I'll throw in an extra episode. This episode. Hello, everybody. You're listening to The Private Citizen. And yeah, see you around. Thanks for listening. This was The Private Citizen, defending your right to have something to hide. See you next week. It's my new tagline, by the way. I'm gonna change that on the website. Debuting it with the new shirt. I thought of that today on the show when I was thinking of something to put on the shirt. Okay, we need to fix that here at the end. But before we do that, I know it's too late, but just a little bit of warning here.
I got myself a case of Wuhan flu. I don't know what I am supposed to do.
It could be a bit louder, couldn't it? How does that work again? Oh God, I've forgotten how that works. Okay. Hindenburg. How does that work again? Transport, clipboard, audio, volume edit. Slope, fade, Control Shift arrow up down. Okay. But I don't. No, we don't want that. Control up down. Why is that the same thing? I don't want the whole thing. Shit. Handles. Can I do that? Can I do that? No. Fuck. Audio edit. What's that? No, I don't want to split. I want. Should be here. think it's shift control arrow up down, but God. Oh, one can do. Can't one do this as well? Yeah, that's what we want basically. Just get rid of these. God. As you can tell, I'm still learning this program. Okay, run that. Come on. Right. Okay, now I can just manipulate this, but I want yeah, right. I want that. I want that down to normal. To normal. Yeah, right, okay. Let's leave it at probably should have played that jingle. I'm just gonna, just I know it's too late, but just a little bit of warning here.
I got myself a case of Wuhan flu. I don't know what I am supposed to do. Didn't know I had it when I gave it to you. Now we all got the Wuhan flu.
I just like that jingle so much. Thanks to No Agenda, as always. That jingle, I'm just gonna, just I know it's too late, but just a little bit of warning here.
I got myself a case of Wuhan flu.
If you asked him, that's better. Save that. Zeros, and that makes this clip even more better because more better. Let's just listen to the guy. You'll get what I mean.
Thank you, Adrian. It is obvious.
Isn't that like just? This is when it, for some reason, until there, the player was quieter. My audio player was quieter. No idea why. No idea why. Zero. Okay. I know that it's from the WEF because they have other sound bites from this event from the same people. Let's just listen to the guy. You'll get what I mean.
Thank you, Adrian. It is obvious
Isn't that like just thank you, Adrian? It's just like a Bond villain.
that we are in the midst of the most severe crisis the world to shape the
Post-war order, and we need a new post-corona order. No, we just need to fucking sort out our health systems. Anyway, but let's listen to what that guy thinks we need to be doing.
Thank you, Adrian.
Sorry.
It has laid not fit anymore for the 21st century.
Okay. It's great. It's a great time to be a podcaster.
Yeah, it's
That's too loud. That's because it's no agenda and it's compressed. Like, oh shit, it's compressed like hell to this topic, and I had this in the playlist for at some point to play this because this is exactly why it's great. It's a great time to be a podcaster.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a podcaster. That's all I can say. Very, very proud of.
With your own network to distribute yourself without having to go through Podbean or any of these operations going, oh, we don't think your podcast is suitable anymore.
Yeah, that's why I love doing. I just. Zero. Come on, zero. Zero. Why isn't that at zero? Anyway. Being there for me, and thanks everybody for listening. That's it. This is your episode for today. All that. You're great. Thanks for being. Okay, let's fix that. You're great. Thanks for being there for me, and thanks everybody for listening. Yeah, that's it. That's your episode for today. Thank you, Williams, Sylvia Vulcan, Mr. Amish, and Richard Gilson. Thanks to all of you. I appreciate it so much. You're great. Thanks. Mr. Amish and Richard Gilson. Thanks to all of you. I appreciate it so much. You're great. Yeah, that's it. That's your episode for today. Thank you. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode. Maybe I'll for today. Thank you. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode. Maybe I'll throw in all right. No markers. So let's get onto our first topic. So the first thing I want to talk about is the book there. So let's get So let's get onto our first topic. So the first thing of taking care of that, they have a service that all the sources that I use so that you can look at the show yourself, and then you look at all the stuff I talk about in the show yourself, and form your own opinion, because that's one of the things I want to do with this show. I don't want you to take what I say for granted. I want you to think for yourself and then have a dialogue with me, and in that way become a producer on the show. But before we get into the topics I want to talk about today, there's some housekeeping. Housekeeping, mint for pillow. This is all of these policies. This is a house of cards that is just poised to collapse, I feel. So that's what we have from the UK. Let's move. So that's what we have from the UK. That's what we have from the UK. Let's move over to Germany. There's some things that have changed that since we last talked about, coronavirus. Thank you, Adrian. Are we wearing masks or not? If that's the important thing, I'd be completely okay with that. Okay. This is an edit marker. Is everything is going to shit, isn't it? Now I realized, I just noticed. Let's jump in at that point. Yeah, so I would be completely okay with that. Basically, are we wearing masks or not? If that's the important thing, I'd be completely okay with that. Completely okay. That's the important thing. If that's the important thing. Okay. No, okay, I need to use this. What isn't that? if that's the important. Yeah. So I'm. Okay, we need to cut that here somewhere. Okay. Editing. Magic. That's the important thing. Yeah, so I think we can have a pause there. Just see if that sounds natural or not. If that's the important thing. Yeah, so I would be completely okay with that. If it's just mass or not. But correlation doesn't equal causation. There are indications that these masks help. But, we can't quantify that. Because it's bloody hard to quantify virus. We don't know. There's all these kinds of different masks. Is it a surgical mask? Is it an N95 mask? Somebody wearing a bandana? Is it one of those idiotic face shields that don't, that were actually designed to, if the question, this statement, I'd be okay if this is a, if the question, this all comes down to is basically are we wearing masks or not? If that's the important thing. Yeah, so I would be completely okay with that. If it's just masks or not, yes, but is basically are we wearing masks or not? If that's the important thing. Yeah, so I would be completely okay with that. Works. If it's just masks or not, yes. But the problem here is, it's not a question about, and also about a lot of conspiracy theories, but that ever happened and it changed everything, and now we need to change. We need to change our society, our politics, if it would actually spread. But now I'm using everybody's using a fucking keypad. Right, and then it makes I get the data from that, and then they can sell you things. The situation we have is being used by lots of forces in society, in politics, and in business, to change things. And they will say it is imperative that we do this, and they never explain. And this brings me to the next. Explain. To the next, and this brings me to the next my next topic. This is kind of like my soapbox for this episode, this brings me to the next. It is imperative that we do this, and they never explain. And this brings me to the next. My next topic. This is kind of like my soapbox for this episode, where money on that. Spend more money on that. Problem solved. Quebec Premier François and you see it. You see all these Corona measures. I don't want to go on much further about this. I just wanted to. When we're talking a privacy podcast, but please get in touch. I do value a healthy dialogue with people that listen to the show. And speaking of dialogue with people who listen to the show, let's do that. Let's go into the producer feedback. At first, so we have some boots on the ground reports in the playlist for it's just gonna
bean or any of these operations going, we don't think you're
on this boat for different reasons, but you all come to the same place. So now I'm at
the biggest crisis in World War II, because a lot of shit has happened since,
and ultimately increase social.
They're gonna see it.
Operations going, we don't think your podcast is suitable anymore.
10, they'll swing back.
Didn't know I had it when I gave it to you.
On Twitch. Well, yeah, I think that's about it for the editing. So Now we want to do chapters. So marker 8. Wait. Marker 8. Housekeeping. COVID-19 response in the UK. Developments. Don't want to misspell developments. In Germany. So these are the chapters that you can then flick through on your podcatcher if they support ID V3 chapter markers. Right. So we got that. I think that's it. We've got it edited. We got it leveled. We can now publish. So we are talking the private citizen. Although, yeah, we've changed the naming convention since the last one, so I think, did I fix that on the last episode? Well, I can check. I can check in my podcatcher. Oh no, actually can't. But I can check. Oh, that is nasty. I can check. Private citizen recordings. Private citizen 40 MP3 properties details. Oh, I actually didn't do that. That is not good. I think I'll have to fix that. Yep. Well, I can fix that. I can just upload that episode again. It's not like I haven't. No, not now. Go away. The private citizen recordings. I think that's the right folder. Boom. Well, I'll just re-upload that last episode as well. It's probably gonna cause havoc with some podcatchers again, but they need to be all tagged correctly. Not properties. Extended tags. The others are correct, I guess. So it's just TPC40. Okay. Right. Back to what I was actually doing. TPC41, the Great Privacy Reset, track 41. Looks good. Did I just change that? Explicit, yes, yeah. Don't want to change any of that. Okay. So we can publish. Why didn't it? No, cancel. Why didn't you? I changed. Sorry, what? Why is it? Why doesn't that update? Ah, for fuck's sake. Now it works. What the fuck? Okay, here we go. So it's now mastering the file. Mastering the file, analyzing it, leveling it for that Lufs bullshit. And then encoding it. Encoding the fucker. With Selenium. Selenium encoder. Okay, while we wait, we can sort out the teaser image. Okay, reset. What kind of image can we use for the great privacy reset? Let's try reset. Let's see. Maybe there's a reason. Push to reset the world. That's perfect, actually. Yep. Let's save that. Yeah. Oh God, stop doing that. Right. Now doing the branding.